And at number 10, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes' career was taking off and he was known for many roles, but his career was derailed not because of his acting or even anything he did in public, but instead because he didn't pay his taxes. You'd assume that he would just pay it back and it would be no big deal, but his tax evasion was so egregious that he was actually sentenced to jail for his crimes. He was found guilty of willfully not filing taxes for 3 years and got 1 year in prison for every year he didn't pay taxes. He was also forced to pay back $17 million to the government. This was what he owed in taxes, along with fines and penalties. His time in jail put his career on hold, and when he came out, no one wanted to hire him. And at number 9, Paz de la Huerta. This actress was going to be huge. Even when she wasn't that well known, she was being covered in the press for her outrageous antics. Like one time when she allegedly went into a sauna while covered in honey. While she was filming the show Boardwalk Empire, she developed a reputation for being a party girl, and this was basically the beginning of the end. TMZ got footage of her incredibly drunk after the Golden Globes. She even slipped and fell at one point. Then she was arrested for assault after she allegedly threw a glass at someone, then punched them in the face. Things got worse when reports came out that she was horrible on set and she would show up to set erratic and unprofessional. She was fired shortly after and her career did not recover from the hit. And at number 8, CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green gained prominence in the 2010s and he was actually a pretty big name in the industry. He even got some acting gigs as a result of his music success, and he started judging on The Voice. But it seems like his big mouth ended up getting him into trouble. In October of 2012, he was accused of SA, a form of assault, and he ended up getting sentenced to probation and community service. But the real issue happened when he spoke about it on Twitter days later. He basically argued that if someone passed out and someone else tries to take advantage of them, it's not violating them because they consented. Obviously this makes no sense and is just incredibly disturbing. He said in part on Twitter, quote, "If someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with implies consent." After this, he was kicked off TV and he was even kicked from festivals that he planned to perform at. He's laid low ever since. And at number 7, Tonya Harding. Tonya Harding should be known as a figure skating legend who was the first American woman to land a triple axel in competition, but she's not. Instead, she's known as the vicious woman who harmed her competition in order to stay on top of the skating world. Her career was primed to reach new heights until someone hired a hitman to break Nancy Kerrigan's leg in hopes of giving Harding a better shot at the national championship. It didn't take long for people to suspect Tonya was behind it, and eventually word got out that her husband, Jeff Gillooly, and his friend were the masterminds behind this plan. Tonya claimed that she had no knowledge of the attack before it happened, but she did admit she learned of it after. She ended up pleading guilty as a conspirator to avoid jail time. She paid a $160,000 fine, was forced to withdraw from the 1994 World Figure Skating Championships, and was banned from figure skating for life. And at number 6, Robert Blake. Robert Blake had a career spanning decades, and he went from child stardom to respected adult actor. But everything changed in his personal and public life when his wife was killed in 2001. The details of the case were incredibly suspicious, and almost immediately Blake was a suspect. Bonnie Lee Bakley, his wife, was shot in his car, which was parked around the corner from a restaurant the couple was eating at that night. Apparently, he left his wife in the car while he went back into the restaurant to look for his quote missing gun, and when he came back, she was dead. There wasn't enough evidence to charge Blake with anything until 2 men came forward shortly after, claiming that Blake offered to pay them to kill his wife. 3 years after his arrest, Blake was acquitted, though a civil court claim later found him guilty of intentionally causing Bakley's death and ordered him to pay $30 million to her kids. But after this spectacle, his career was done. Halfway at number 5, Alan Carr. One terrible performance at the 1989 Oscars not only ruined Alan Carr's career, but also a budding actress by the name of Eileen Bowman. Producer Alan Carr was left in charge of the Oscars, and his worst mistake was opening the show with a performance from Snow White, starring Eileen Bowman, that was a complete disaster. Firstly, it made no sense and it was very eccentric, and then Rob Lowe joined later to make the whole thing even cringier. The Hollywood Reporter called the number a nightmare, while the New York Times said it had earned a permanent place as the worst Oscar embarrassments. The worst treatment probably went to Bowman, who fled the city and went home to San Diego within hours of the performance. She wasn't able to return, and it's still dubbed as one of Alan Carr's worst decisions. In at number 4, Rebecca Gayheart. Rebecca Gayheart was best known for her roles in 90210 as well as Jawbreaker, and her career looked like it was going to continue to be great until 2001 when she hit and killed a who was crossing the street. It was actually her negligence that led to the death, because other cars around them had stopped for the boy before Gayheart failed to stop and hit him. She settled a wrongful death lawsuit with the boy's family, but the damage to her career was done, and nobody wants to work with someone who was convicted of such a terrible crime. Since then, she's been demoted to small guest starring roles. And at number 3, the Dixie Chicks. Chicks. The Dixie Chicks are known as a legendary country group, and the ladies enjoyed chart-topping success while they were on top, but a wrong political move kicked the women off their pedestal. The lead singer Natalie Maines bashed President George W. Bush during a live concert in 2002. She said, quote, "Just so you know, we're on the good side with y'all. We do not want this war, this violence, and we're ashamed that the President of the United States is from Texas." But bashing the president was not as well accepted as it is now, and the women were promptly met with outrage. Country music genre completely blacklisted them, and their music was even boycotted by a number of radio stations in the aftermath. They tried to come back, but it didn't work. And at number 2, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey was huge in the 80s, starring in movies like Dirty Dancing and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She was particularly known for her unique nose that was unlike the typical noses in Hollywood and really made her stand out. But while her career was taking off, she decided to get a nose job in 1989, assuming that it would help her get more roles. But the issue with this is that when she looked like everyone else, she wasn't unique anymore, and sadly her career shrank alongside her nose. Her nose job was minor, but because her nose was so distinct before, it made her completely unrecognizable. She said about the regrettable procedure, quote, "I went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous. And because nobody recognized her, she stopped landing roles and her career faded fast." And finally at number 1, Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was primed to be a football star. He was rising up the ranks in football incredibly fast and even signed a $41 million contract with the New England Patriots. But everything in his life changed when he was accused of killing a man. He ended up being found guilty of this and sentenced to life in prison. While in prison, he had apparently been linked to other deaths, and it's widely believed that he's killed 4 people. But the story with Aaron got even more tragic because he took his own life while in prison in 2017. Many believe this happened because of the shame the entire debacle caused him and his family. And at number 10, Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was a huge movie star in the early 2010s, being known for box office hits like The Mummy and Journey to the Center of the Earth. But out of nowhere, he just stopped being cast in things, and his name started to follow the question, whatever happened to that guy? It seems his entire career changed course when he decided to turn down the lead role in the sequel to Journey of the Center of the Earth called Journey to the Mysterious Island. The role went to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson instead, and that movie was even bigger than the first. He not only decided to decline that role, but he also accepted roles in 2 other movies that flopped. After this, his career took a sharp decline, and he was not able to recover from it. However, he is now starring in a movie that will be released soon, and fans are calling it the Renaissance. And at number 9, Michael Richards. The legendary Seinfeld actor got serious backlash after he started calling a member of his audience racial slurs because this person was heckling him during a stand-up routine. This went down in 2006, and in response to the heckling, Richards decided to call him the N-word along with other slurs, and demanding that the African-American customer be thrown out of the club. The backlash was so harsh that he decided to leave the stage before his routine was even over. In 2006, Michaels tried to revitalize his image by apologizing for the comments on The Late Show with David Letterman. However, it seems the apology was not taken well because his career took a nosedive after that appearance. Since this incident, Richards has only appeared in 2 roles, one on Curb Your Enthusiasm and another on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. And at number 8, Tila Tequila Nugent. Tila Tequila got her fame from MySpace, and at one point she was the most well-known person on the platform. Since she was an internet celebrity, MTV decided to give her a dating show called A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila in 2007, and she was even cast in a Hollywood movie as well. But her career came to a screeching halt when she decided to post an article to her website describing why she sympathized with who was of course the German leader during the Second World War. In the piece, she claimed he was, quote, not a bad person as they made him out to be. She even posted photos of herself in his memorabilia. Tequila attempted to get her career back on track in 2015 when she appeared as a housemate on the UK celebrity Big Brother, but she was kicked out once people learned of her past. And at number 7, Brian Williams. Brian Williams was one of the top news anchors ever, filling the coveted nightly news spot on NBC. He was even so well respected that he was frequently a guest on Saturday Night Live and 30 Rock. But that all changed when it was exposed that Williams was a liar. The lie first started back in 2003, and he basically claimed that he was riding in a military helicopter that was forced to the ground while flying over Iraq. The plane was hit by an RPG and almost crashed. He kept repeating the story over and over for years after, even mentioning it on The Late Show with David Letterman in 2013. But when the world found out this whole story was a lie, everyone was shocked and felt that they couldn't trust him again. He ended up getting a 6-month unpaid suspension from NBC, and his career took a huge hit. He never came back to his role and was demoted to a smaller network after. And at number 6, Paul Reubens. Paul Reubens was known to the world as the lovable character of Pee Wee Herman that was huge in the 1980s. The children's show even won an Emmy, enhancing his celebrity status even further. But things all went south in 1991 when it was revealed that he was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater. Because of this, Pee Wee toys were pulled from shelves across the nation, and he was out of the spotlight for the rest of the 90s. He tried to make a comeback years later, but that was halted when even more charges of a sexual nature were brought against him. After this, his public reputation hit new lows, and nobody wanted to be associated with him. But he did come back once again in 2016 to play Pee Wee Herman in the Netflix film Pee Wee's Big Holiday. Surprisingly, it had a good reaction, I assume because people forgot about his past. Halfway number 5, Rob Lowe. So crazy enough, the person that we talked about last, Paul Reubens, is actually connected to Rob Lowe's scandal. Rob Lowe was a prominent actor in the 80s, however when Reubens was being busted by the cops, they discovered an adult tape starring Rob Lowe. After this, his career took a huge hit. Lowe did not end up facing any legal repercussions because the age of consent is 16 in Georgia, but his public reputation did not recover. He even lost a role in the Titanic because of all the scandals. But over the years he was able to get back into the spotlight and was cast in movies like Wayne's World, Tommy Boy, and Parks and Rec. And at number 4, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes was one of the biggest stars in the 2000s, starring in the hit show The Amanda Show, along with movies like She's the Man and What a Girl Wants. But sadly, like a lot of other child stars, she struggled to deal with the fame and derailed her career with substance abuse. This caused her to have a complete Twitter meltdown after she was arrested, tweeting all sorts of disturbing things. In her 2012 tweet storm, she told Drake that she wanted to sleep with him in much more colorful language. She also tweeted Rihanna telling her that, quote, Chris Brown beat you because you're not pretty enough. She ended the night by lighting a driveway on fire. Because of all this, she was put in a psychiatric facility and her career was put on hold. She has not come back to the spotlight since. And at number 3, Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle became a bona fide celebrity after he became the face of Subway sandwiches and promoted the sandwiches as a tool for his weight loss. His celebrity status even got him roles in movies and spots on late night shows. But this all came to a screeching halt when it was exposed that he had participated in indecent conduct with along with having illegal images. Fogle had been on the FBI's radar since 2007, and they finally arrested him in 2015. He got 15 years in prison, his wife divorced him, and Subway cut all ties with him. But unfortunately, his connection to Subway was too strong for the public to ignore, and the company's reputation took a huge hit because of the scandal. And at number 2, Paula Deen. Paula Deen was once one of America's favorite celebrity chefs, making good southern food for television. She was even cast on shows like Top Chef, Master Chef, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and a role in an actual movie called Elizabethtown. But in 2012, her empire was destroyed after it was exposed that she regularly said the N-word. Deen was even sued by the general manager of one of her restaurants, as they claimed that Deen would frequently use the N-word in the workplace. In testimony during the trial, the manager's lawyer asked Deen if she had ever used the N-word before, and she replied, quote, "Yes, of course." After these statements, she was cut from the Food Network, and it seems that she doesn't even really care. She tweeted a photo of her son in blackface only years later. And finally, at number 1, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is no stranger to controversy. It's partly what's made her famous. However, she took one joke way too far and it ended up costing her her career. In May of 2017, Griffin posted a picture of herself holding a decapitated Donald Trump mannequin head. She did this stunt in an attempt to mock Trump, but it kinda sorta looked like a potential threat against the president's life, which is not tolerated in the media. The FBI even investigated her over the picture. Griffin apologized, saying in a statement, quote, "I don't think I'm going to have a career after this, I'm going to be honest, Trump broke me." But months later, she actually retracted her apology and decided the backlash against her was too much. As a result, she was banned from CNN and her stand-up shows were cancelled. And at number 10, Demi Moore. Demi Moore's career was taking off and she was on her way to becoming a well-respected actress, but that all changed when the film G.I. Jane was released and put her promising career on hold. She was even awarded a parody award for the worst actress for her role in that film. but Demi doesn't actually see it that way, and she revealed that G.I. Jane is one of her favorite movies, and she feels that it's very underrated. Demi said in one interview, quote, "It was that kind of criticism that really sent me to a space where I lost a little bit of passion and that maybe disheartened me." One of the studio execs even shared how much the film hurt her marketability in Hollywood, saying, quote, "People just don't want to see her. We would have to drag them kicking and screaming to see this movie." And at number 9, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's career got a second wind when he landed the show 2.5 Men, and it became a smash hit. He had been known for his partying in wild ways that all played out in the media during his divorce with Denise Richards, but everyone seemed to forget about his questionable past when 2.5 Men started. But after some time being on top again, his career tanked once again because of substance. After the show's creator Chuck Lorre was growing tired of Charlie's substance issues, he decided to fire him. Sheen then had a meltdown where he screamed profanities at Lorre, including anti-Semitic remarks, which cemented Lorre's decision. Ashton Kutcher then replaced him, and after a few episodes, no one really cared that Charlie was gone. And at number 8, Thomas Gibson. Thomas Gibson was best known from Criminal Minds, and his career was really taking off, until 2016 when he got into a fight with one of the show's co-executive producers and ended up kicking him. Gibson was temporarily suspended so the show could do an investigation, but after the investigation they realized it was the tip of the iceberg. His behavior on set was unacceptable, so he was prematurely kicked off the show. The official statement read, quote, "Thomas Gibson has been dismissed from Criminal Minds. Creative details for how the character's exit will be addressed in the show will be announced at a later date." Apparently the kick was the third strike after another on-set outburst, as well as a DUI, and his reputation never recovered. And at number 7, David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff was a household name until his daughter leaked an embarrassing tape of his, and the public never looked at him the same way since. In 2006, his daughter posted a video of Hasselhoff eating off the floor in a drunken stupor. And this was not the beginning of his misuse of drugs and alcohol, and his substance issues caused him to not only lose his career, but his family as well, unfortunately. After all the scandal surrounding Hasselhoff's name, Hollywood nor the public wanted to be associated with him, and his reputation tanked. He got sober in 2009 and tried to come back into the spotlight, but the damage was already done. And at number 6, Mark Salling. Mark Salling rose to fame on the hit show Glee, but his career and public opinion of him tanked in 2016 when it was revealed that he possessed illegal images featuring minors. After he was charged with various crimes related to this, he was promptly cut from the miniseries Adi Shankaraj's Gods and Secrets. The director revealed this on his Facebook page, writing, quote, "He has been cut from the miniseries. I will personally be paying for the reshoots, and I hope that Mark finds inner peace." After this was exposed, even more allegations of crimes came to light, and everyone was cutting ties with him. Salling pled guilty to the charges but took his own life before he was sentenced. Halfway at number 5, Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett was best known for his role in Empire at the time of his scandal, although he wasn't a household name. But his fame exploded to new heights when he alleged that 2 white men who were wearing MAGA hats attacked him, shouting racist and homophobic slurs. The whole world supported him and he became somewhat of a figurehead against racial hate, until it was revealed that it was all a lie, and he actually paid 2 men to attack him. After it was revealed that he faked everything, the city of Chicago sued him for filing a fake police report, as well as the cost of investigating the attack, for over $130,000. On February 11th of 2020, Smollett was indicted again by a Cook County grand jury on 6 counts pertaining to making 4 false police reports, and he was of course blacklisted from the industry. And at number 4, Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway was set to become Hollywood royalty with movies like Bonnie and Clyde and Chinatown under her belt. But it seemed that her head got too big for her cast and crew, and she quickly developed a reputation for being difficult, which is never a label you want to get in the industry before you're a bona fide A-list star. Then to make things worse, Bette Davis came out against her on Johnny Carson. When Carson asked who was the worst person in Hollywood, she replied, quote, "Faye Dunaway, and everybody you can put in this chair would tell you exactly the same thing." When asked to elaborate, she added, quote, "I don't think we have the time to go into all the reasons, she's just uncooperative." After this, her career was over. And at number 3, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner made a name for himself as the lovable hunk in the Twilight series, and he was cast in a number of other movies at the time because of his star power. But there were fears that he was asking for way more money than he was worth, and when the big paychecks Hollywood paid him didn't result in box office success, he was quickly blacklisted. To make matters worse, he starred in a movie called Abduction that was rated so poorly that Lautner ended up leaving Hollywood after. And at number 2, Alex Pettyfer. Alex Alex Pettyfer rose to fame as the hunk in the movie I Am Number 4 and Beastly, but since he rose to fame so fast, his arrogance got the best of him and he was branded difficult and disrespectful. An unnamed source who worked with Pettyfer on the set of I Am Number 4 told the publication, quote, "He was a nightmare and irrational. He had no body of work to remotely justify his behavior." But that's not all. He also did a horrible interview in 2011 where he basically offended all of Hollywood. In the interview, he basically trashed LA, calling it a shithole, and saying that the people that live there are all "see you next Tuesdays." Yeah, I can't say that word. Pettyfer did not reprise his central role in the 2015 Magic Mike sequel, Magic Mike XXL, and his work since is minimal. And finally, at number 1, Tom Cruise. Of course, Tom Cruise's career will never be fully ruined because he will always be considered an A-list actor. But over the years, he's made some serious dents in his reputation. The worst might be Cruise's interview with Matt Lauer, where his temper changes dramatically, showing the world that Cruise has a very short fuse. In the 2005 interview, Lauer asked Cruise about his comments criticizing Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants for her postpartum depression. Cruise kept going on that he doesn't agree with it, and when asked why, Cruise added, quote, "You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do," along with getting more combative as the conversation went on. That, in part with his sketchy divorce from Katie Holmes, made public opinion of him tank. Starting off our list at number 10, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was known for his roles in movies like the Lethal Weapon series, the Mad Max series, and Braveheart. But now he's mostly known for being anti-Semitic. In 2009, Gibson was arrested for driving under the influence with an open container of alcohol in his vehicle. The officer refused to let Gibson drive himself home, obviously, and then Gibson totally lost it, ranting about Jewish people and saying that they're responsible for all the wars in the world. Gibson even asked the officer if he was Jewish. That wasn't the last time he was caught using slurs either. He was also caught using the N-word on a call in 2010. After this, his reputation took a massive hit. And at number 9, Megan Fox. Megan Fox's career was destroyed after one bad interview. She was primed to be one of the biggest actresses ever, as the leading lady of the Transformers franchise. But in one interview, she completely trashed the film's director, Michael Bay, and was cut from the movie as a result. During a 2009 interview with Wonderland magazine, she was asked about working with Bay, to which she responded that he wants to be like Napoleon and wants to have an infamous madman reputation. But then she said in real life, he's actually incredibly awkward with no social skills at all. Yikes. Steven Spielberg reportedly did not take kindly to her comments, and she was then kicked out of the third and fourth film. After that, her career completely diminished, and she only just started to get back into the spotlight in 2020. And at number 8, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was once the most respected golfer in the world, as well as being one of the highest paid athletes. But that all came to a halt when his professional image was shattered after it was exposed that he had cheated on his wife with countless women. It all came to a head in 2009 when he crashed his Escalade into a tree in his own front yard, with many claiming that his ex-wife kicking him out caused the crash. After he confessed to all the cheating, his image was ruined and all of his sponsors dropped him. After years of laying low, he came back strong, winning the 2019 Masters, although he is still tied to his party boy image. His career took another hit recently when he veered off a hill and his car rolled down the hill, causing many injuries that might even mean the end of his career. And at number 7, Kanye West. It's absolutely shocking that Kanye West still has a career despite all his scandals. Just some of his biggest scandals have been stealing the mic from Taylor Swift, being a public Trump supporter, and admitting his wife Kim almost terminated her pregnancy with North, along with starting feuds with most of the biggest rappers and singers. But even after all that and a failed presidential run, Kanye still has some of the most loyal fans ever. Some even think that his resiliency might just be in part to PR strategy, as Kanye only really seems to get into scandals when he has an album to promote. And at number 6, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey, of course, is one of the most talented singers ever, and even though she's gotten into some scandals for shading other celebrities in the past, the thing that really hurt her career was bad lip syncing. And in 2017, while she was performing live at the New Year's Eve show, millions watched as her performance became a complete train wreck. While she was performing the song Emotions, it seemed that her inner ear headphones stopped working and she froze, not really knowing what to do. After some terrible lip syncing, where it was clear her voice did not match up, she walked off stage mid-performance. After the fact, she claimed that she was set up by producers, but it was hard to believe and it looked like she was just too young to be performing. Halfway number 5, Ashley Simpson. This is one of those accidents that sadly ruined her career. While Ashley was on SNL to perform, her first song went off without an issue, but her second song caused an infamous moment that the internet will never forget. When the music started, the vocals for the track she sang before started to play, making it incredibly clear she was lip-syncing. Nobody knew what to do, so her band just kept playing while she danced around the stage and did not sing a word. In the days that followed, the singer was attacked in the media for lip-syncing, which is especially bad on an all-live show. After the incident, she tried to set the record straight and explain why she lip-synced. She told MTV that she lost her voice because of acid reflux, and instead of canceling the appearance, she thought it was better for everyone if she just faked it. But her career did not recover after that. And at number 4, Ryan Lochte. Ryan Lochte is an Olympic swimmer, and he was known to the world as a heartthrob. He went into the 2012 London Olympics with $2.3 million worth of endorsements. He was even more famous coming into the 2016 Rio Olympics, so his sponsorship deals were presumably even more. But when he didn't deliver in the Olympic Games, it seemed he took his anger out in the form of a lie. The incident was called Lochtegate, wherein he claimed that he and his teammates were robbed and their lives were threatened by some thugs in Rio. After many went out looking for the criminals, he was forced to reveal that he made the whole thing up. In the end, he lost several of his sponsorships, including Speedo and Ralph Lauren, as well as his reputation. He was also banned from swimming for 10 months. In at number 3, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is known for throwing it down in the ring, wrestling his opponents, and putting on a great show. But after an adult tape starring Hogan was leaked, his career was never the same. You'd think it was because of the scandalous nature of the tape, but it wasn't that at all. It was because on this intimate tape, you can hear Hogan saying the N-word multiple times. To make matters worse, many of these racist comments were directed at his daughter Brooke's boyfriend at the time, who is black. He even said on the tape that he would feel better about her dating a black man if he was some sort of basketball player worth millions of dollars. Hogan sued the website Gawker after the fact for leaking the video, and Hogan got a massive payout from the lawsuit because his career was essentially over after that leak. He not only was removed from all WWE events, but he was even taken out of their Hall of Fame. And at number 2, Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried has an unforgettable voice that has made him a household name. After starring in many roles in Hollywood, he made his money by being the voice of the Aflac Duck. Aflac is an insurance company, and the duck has been their mascot since 1999. But after he posted an insensitive tweet about a tsunami that killed thousands of people in Japan, he was promptly fired. The tweet said, quote, "Japan is really advanced. They don't go to the beach comes to them." The tweet was made even worse by the fact that 75% of the business Aflac does is in Japan, and he offended their largest customer base. And finally, number 1, Miles Teller. Miles Teller burst onto the Hollywood scene in Damien Chazelle's 2014 directorial debut, Whiplash, which got plenty of critical acclaim. He even got a role in the Divergent series, which got him a lot more exposure. But his career really hit a snag because of a string of really bad interviews. In a 2014 interview with the New York Times, Teller said, quote, "I feel like a lot of actors of my generation are not proper actors. I want to break out of that whole group of actors in their early 20s and really start to put stuff down that lets you know I take this seriously." He even trashed John Cusack after a reporter compared the two of them. Teller said they are similar in some ways, but quote, "I don't want his career." In an interview later in 2015, he came off incredibly cocky. The author of the piece even wrote about Teller, quote, "So yeah, he's kind of a..." He started to get cast in things again, but public perception of him is still very bad.